Hey, it's Tommy Allen from TommyAllenMusic.com. Welcome. This week we have the amazing harmonica player, Mr. Steve Weston. Come and check it out. Thank you for joining us today and taking the time out.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me on your video show or
adventure.
What you call it. Video adventure, yeah. Yeah.
So, let's start. When was you born and where was you born? Was it London?
I was born way back in 1959 in South Benfleet in Essex. So I'm an Essex born and bred guy, but born in a little town just on the mainland side of Canvey Island. And I lived there till I was 10, and then moved to Canvey when I was 10, and grew up there before I left home in my late teens. Yeah, so I'm a Canvey guy. So I grew up with obviously delving into the music side of things. I grew up with Eddie and the Hot Rods and Dr. Feelgood, and all the South End bands of that mid-70s period.
So when did you find music? How did that happen?
It's we didn't have record player in our house, funny enough, and I was the youngest of three siblings. My oldest brother is 13 years older than me, so he was an original mod, and he loves his music. Though we didn't have it in the house, he did love it, his music, and he loved Georgie Fame and John Mayall and Soup Money and the Peddlers. So like these sort of Hammond-based bands is what he liked. And he used to sing. We used to share a bedroom. We had a 3-bedroom house. My sister had one, mum and dad had one, and me and my brother had the other one. So I was his little brother, and really influenced by the music that he used to sing and talk about. And and we had a piano in the house, like all 60s general houses had. It was part of the furniture of an upright piano, and that was one of my toys to play on. And I got a cousin, also older, a lot older than me, and he's a great pianist. Now he was trained and read music and did it all properly. And he just happened to show my brother how to play Ray Charles' "What I Say," just the bottom bit of it. Boom, 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 boom. And my brother showed me as a little boy. I was supposed about 5 or 6. He showed me how to do that bit. And that basic, as you're a musician, it's like a root of 5, a flat and 7, and a root at the top. It's like it's a 7 shape, the 7 chord shape. And I learned everything from the piano by ear from that one little thing. It opened up everything. I found other notes that worked that you could add in. And I taught myself to play the piano, funny enough.
So that was your first instrument?
That was my first instrument, and it was a toy, and it was something I did from a little boy. I played it very wrong, because I never had a lesson. Mum and Dad said, "Do you want piano lessons?" I thought that was very square, even though I was only 9 or 10, and I said, no, I didn't want lessons. Wish I had it done. I really wish I had it done. So I didn't have lessons. So I taught myself on and off through the years. And then we jumped forward, and I was given a record player from a girl at school. She got a new one. She gave me the old one. So I had this little kind of Dan set looking thing. And because we had it, it was in the house. My dad went and bought some records from Woolworths, and he bought 5 records, if I remember right. One was Boogie Woogie Explosions by a fella called Precious Clarence Turner. This Is the Blues, which is a compilation of all the great blues, Sonny Boy Williamson, Junior Wells, to name a few. There's loads of them, and Freddie King. There's loads of stuff on that album. A reggae one, which was kind of like the early rock steady reggae, called Jackpot Hits, all Trojan label, and one of what was the other one? The other one was a Temperance Seven, doing sort of Charleston and all this stuff. So in my dad's world, he covered it all. There was something for everybody in these 5 records. But I absolutely loved the Precious Clarence Turner. It was solo piano. He was an English guy, apparently. I didn't know much about him. It was a picture, not a picture of a black girl in front of a factory with broken windows, if I remember right. And that, so I never knew what he looked like. And it was just basic boogie woogie. It was basically all the sort of standard boogie woogie styles were on there. And I played it to death until I learned it all. And not all of it. I learned roughly how to do some of it, like the Jimmy Yancey thing. I found easier to pick up because it's kind of slow, and these like Lewis and all those little bits. But I never played it particularly well. But I had my own interpretation of it, so I learned a lot off of that. So I knew how to get around the piano in a couple of keys. That was all. That's all I could do it in. So that was my first introduction to playing music, and I absolutely loved it. But this blues record has some great harmonica on it. Now that I love that. So I asked my dad to buy me a harmonica for I think it was a Christmas present. It was on Christmas or birthday, but I'm trying to think how old I might have been. 12 or 13, possibly a little older. I can't really remember the exact time. But I said I wanted a chromatic because I thought this must be how you play blues, because that button must make a blues note. It sort of made sense. So you pulled it in, it was like a cool thing. It would sound really cool. That button would make the blues notes. So he bought me. Of course, it's completely the wrong instrument, and so never ever got the hang of the harmonica at that time. And I picked up the harmonica proper when I was 17. I had a motorbike by then, and I went into Southend, and Hodges and Johnson's was a shop in the Victoria Circus in Southend, and in the Hona display cabinet, I was looking at them all, and one said blues harp on it. Of course, I realised that must be the one I want, and I bought one, and that was it. All fell into place. So I played the harmonica and I played the piano.
And who was you following at that point on the harmonica when you first started out?
Well, the thing was, growing up on Canvey Island, you couldn't get away from the fact that Dr. Feelgood were number one. They were number one in the album charts. There was their 3rd album, and it went straight to number one, the live album, Stupidity. Massive. It was massive movement for rhythm and blues, pub rock rhythm and blues type thing. It was the antidote to everything that was going on. It was, I think, I can't think what it was, but I think punk had gone by, not gone, but it had come by then, because Feelgoods were pre-punk. I didn't like punk. All my pals loved it. That was our era. I really didn't like the music at all. I didn't like anything about it. Didn't like the clothes. I didn't like anything about it, one single bit. But all my pals did. So you kind of got pulled along. I never dressed like a punk. But you couldn't grow up on Canvey Island without being influenced by Dr. Feelgood. And I knew it was a Canvey band. And yes, I was at school, obviously. I must have been 15. And they were on the Geordie scene on television. And I remember putting it on, and we heard it was on. Was people talking about they're going to be on television. So the Geordie scene was a music programme, obviously in Newcastle, and put it on. Never heard them before. Heard it. I thought, wow, this is everything I want to hear. Everything. It was so exciting. It was short, hard-driven rhythm and blues songs. Wilco just scaring the life out of you. And I just remember going to school the next day and saying, "Did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see him?" And I'm brilliant. And it was just, it changed the world. It changed the world of music. Actually, at that time, it really gave me a kick. I'm trying to think what would be, I suppose, aggressive rock period was probably just starting to wane a bit. You know, you said the Pink Floyd, and you know, when I went to sixth form, I remember everybody was into Supertramp and Led Zeppelin and all the more sort of progressive rock bands. And I didn't like them at all. Didn't like them at all. You know, and of course when the Feelgood came out, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It's everything I wanted. So I think I would have got it anyway, but the fact living on Canvey Island was a real thing, you know, to actually. And then I suppose moving on a few years, once I got to about 2021, I looked old enough to go to the pub. I wasn't a young drinker because I just looked too young, you know. I just couldn't get in. And then they used to drink out on Canvey, so I got to know them. They become my friends.
Did he tutor you at all with the harmonica?
It wasn't with the harmonica, but I can remember Lou Lewis was another harmonica player from Canberra. You may have heard of him, Lewis Reformer, another band that we knew and followed, and we loved it all. It was so exciting to go and see them. You know, live music was the king night out. You know, the disco was not really for the cool kids. The discos were for the regular kids. No disrespect to them, but it was the Saturday Night Fever and all that was a bit normal, and your mum and dad kind of approved. Mum and dad didn't like you going to gigs because obviously there was problems with drinking too much and maybe drugs could be involved, and they all looked a bit dangerous, you know. But of course, it attracted certain kids. I mean, I loved it, absolutely loved it. We used to go to London, Dingwalls, and all over the pub rock circuit, all over London, Nashville rooms. More often not jumping in the van with the band and going up with them, you know, and watching. But you know, and it was at a nightclub. I think it was called Bardo's. It changed its name through the years, but I think it was called Bardo's at the time on Canvey Island. And I'd had a few drinks, and I thought, I want to go and tell Lou Lewis that I play piano. I want to go and tell him. And I just remember, strange as it sounds now, and this does sound strange, well, he's gone to the toilet. I'm going to go to the toilet. I'm going to talk to him. I went to go and talk to somebody, but you know, I went down and says, "Hello, Lou," and he's all right, mate. I says, "I play rock and roll piano." And he just said, "Do you?" And we just started talking. I said, "Yeah, he's Luke." I said, "I love Otis Spann." I said, "Jerry Lee Lewis and all those kind of players. And I love that kind of thing." And my name went around very quickly amongst the musicians on Canvey. Next thing I know, Lee Brillo, the singer, he sadly died with Dr. Feelgood. He came back and goes, "I hear you're a mean piano player." So, well, I love it, you know, I do love it. You know, I do play a bit, and I just got to know them. And I actually did some recording with them at some point. At one point, I made an album with, well, I was a keyboard player on an album called Fast Moving Slow Horses with Dr. Feelgood, which was kind of like a wonderful thing to do.
And that's on piano?
Yeah, playing piano and organ, yeah. It's the only thing I ever did do with them. But yeah, and I've stayed friends with them ever since, you know. I mean, the only three, Wilco, Sparko, and Figure, on the drummer, that are left. But I played in bands with Sparko and Figure quite a lot. I did the thing with Wilco that you probably know I did with him and Roger Daltrey. So you actually got your mentors. I ended up playing with them. So it's a wonderful end to a fairy story, you know, to actually get to play with the guys that started you playing. Another guy that I forgot to mention, you probably heard of Mickey Jump. I got to see him at a local show at the Queen's Hotel. Wilco was in the audience as well. And I remember seeing him play piano. Jesus, I thought, wow, I really want to do that. You know, it was phenomenal to see. You know, he did a lot of his own. He's a great songwriter, but more and often than not, he would do a lot of Chuck Berry and a lot of Jerry Lee Lewis songs. And he was really good at that style piano, and a great singer.
So, what was your journey into the old harmonica players?
The old, as I say, it's kind of like it's one of those things. Without the internet, you only had records, so you kind of look. For me, and as a small group of pals, that and a couple that I'm still friends with now, and we looked who who wrote the songs, you know, and you sort of wonder what the original sounds like of that. And it sort of wander, it goes backwards and backwards, you know. I had a friend, one particular friend had an uncle that was an R&B collector in the 60s, but not say collector, but he had records that I suppose he was being like the mod era. He had a lot of rhythm and blues compilation LPs and the Rolling Stones LPs. I remember listening to the Rolling Stones first album. We loved it, absolutely loved it. You know, it had harmonica on it, and we thought, wow, but these weren't their songs. You know, there were a lot of Muddy Waters songs on that first album, and Jimmy Reed songs on it, and we thought we got to check these other guys out. And as it happens, that there's I can't remember what it's called. It might be something Rhythm Blues All Stars or something, but it was an LP, a compilation, and it didn't have a picture of anyone particular on the front, but all the artists were on the back, and there was Muddy Waters was one of them, and it's kind of a name that we heard of and people spoke about blues. It's Muddy Waters. They went hand in hand. You spoke both about blues and people about Muddy Waters. I mean, even my dad, I think he mentioned Muddy Waters and Leadbelly and people like that. I said I was liking blues. And I would have been 16. He was 17. He could use his dad's car, and he just said, "Steve, look, Muddy Waters is playing London," and that should have been 1976. He says, "We'll go see him." I said, "God, really? Should we go and see him?" "Yeah, oh, yeah." So I'll get the tickets. We're going to go with Dad's car, and a New Victoria theatre in London. We went up to see him, and we got there. And the band come on, and we just realised we hadn't a clue what he looked like. We just knew we liked his record. So we're sitting, and there's a load of black guys, mixture actually, because it turns out it was Jerry Portnoy on harmonica. We said, "I think it's him on the guitar." I said, "Perhaps he's a harmonica player." We actually both look at each other. Which one is he? And in that particular period, the band played for a good 20 minutes before he actually walked on. Of course, when he walked on, this must be him, you know. And he came on when he sat down at this period, you know. And so that was my first blues concert, a traditional blues concert. But I love that harmonica. I love that amplified harmonica sound. So between me and my pals, we sort of buy LPs and we check out things that were and record shops. Certainly in our area, the blues section would only have half a dozen or so records. You sort of, it said blues, and you flick through, and you thought, "I haven't heard this one. Have you heard this one?" And between us, we bought a variety. So I didn't buy anything that he had, and he didn't buy anything that I had. There was no point because just sit in each other's bedrooms with a record player and play it, so we get to hear it. And he bought an album called "An Offer You Can't Refuse," which is Paul Butterfield one side, Warburton the other. Butterfield blew my mind, absolutely blew my mind. I thought, what the hell's going on here? I love this. I really love this. So it's slowly. The more rocky, I suppose a bit more. I mean, Butterfield is traditional, but obviously he's a bit harder driving than the really old guys. So he was slowly getting into it. Then I remember my sister bought me a double album of Muddy Waters, and we put that on, and we both went, "This is really slow. Everything's really slow." So we didn't kind of get it. It was too slow. We were teenagers. Everything was exciting. We loved Dr. Feelgood. We liked Paul Butterfield. And it took a few years for us to adapt to the fact that we actually liked the old records. And that's my introduction to the old stuff.
I had the same thing with Robert Johnson. When I was a teenager, I didn't get it. But now I love it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when you're, I think it's unusual if you really do get that. When you're a teenager, it's sort of like everything's frustrating, and you want everything fast. You want fast cars. You want to run fast. You want everything's quick and loud. Everything's got to be loud, you know. And kind of that. It's more of a mature taste. Of course, once you do get the mature, you realise the soul is in it, you know. I don't think teenage boys get soul that much. It's more the power. The subtle soul thing that would come into, you get a bit more emotional, you know, you settle, your hormones have settled down a bit. and you get that soulful side of things, which is the thing that really, I'm sure for you the same as me. I can still put records on, of people like Dinah Washington and people like that, and it still makes the hairs go up on my arm. I think, oh God, if I have to be careful, because I could cry listening to this. This is beautiful, It's a beautiful piece of art. It's wonderful,
So your journey headed sort of Chicago way then with the.
Yeah. It was the Chicago blues because obviously I loved Span. He was my man on the piano. Loved everything he did. Had loads of records by him. I collected when I started buying records. When I skipped to when I was 17, 18, I moved to Croydon to finish an apprenticeship in sheet metal work and welding, which I did finish. And so I was kind of on my own on that period. I only saw my friends at the weekend when I came home. So I lived basically on my own in London. And every payday I'd come out, and Beano's, which was a large second-hand vinyl shop. At the time, it was the largest in Europe, I believe. And I not even know if it's still there, but everything was in there. It was everything. It was thousands and thousands of LPs and singles were upstairs, if I remember right. But I never bought singles. I always bought albums. And just checking it all out and buying them every week. Buying stuff I never heard. Always tend to buy stuff I've never heard before. Very, very rarely that I even now that I think once I've heard it for some reason. I want to see what that's like. So you get a lot of crap, obviously. But more often than not, you sort of read the back, and the back of albums never say this is a crap record, so don't buy it. It always says it's a brilliant record. And if it had harmonica on it, I'm going to check that out. So I used to check out things, that I never heard of. Sven Zetterberg, for example, who sadly passed away, but became a very good friend of mine from Sweden. It was Pee Wee Zetterberg. Sven Zetterberg, Pee Wee Zetterberg, I think it was on his album. I can't remember. It's something in Chicago. I've got it in the box somewhere, but loved his stuff. And finally I got to meet him. God, 40 years later, I got to meet him. And just thought they were great records. So yeah, it was a Chicago more style of things. Yeah.
So you fans of Little Walter and Sonny Boy?
Little Walter was on that album as well. That album that had Muddy on, that we went and checked Muddy out. Little Walter was on there, and it was Off the Wall was on there. The instrumental Off the Wall.
Right.
And I did absolutely love it. I totally loved it. The drum breaking, I love the sound of the harmonica. How on earth are they getting that sound? It sounds so horn-like, so trumpety, trombone sort of round sound. It doesn't sound like a harmonica. It's an amplified harmonica. It's a beautiful sound. I love that record. Absolutely love that record. Yeah, no, Walter, right, total.
So at that time, you was more Walter than Sonny Boy, the stick mic.
Oh no, and Sonny Boy, I love them all. I mean, I couldn't get you get to a patch where you can't. But it's even to this day now, it's still the big fellas. The one there's some the ones that kind of there's lots and lots and lots of them, but there were ones that I regard as giants, which is like Little Walter, Sonny Boy, Sonny Terry, Walter Horton, George Smith. They're the guys. They're the big guys. Of course, there's loads of others too. But they were the main stars of the harmonica.
Who would you say your main sort of style is off of?
I love Walter. Little Walter. You can't top it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In my opinion, but everyone has their own opinion on it.
And did you research what sort of stuff he used? Because I know some people go back and look what amps. Masco, weren't it? Was it Masco PAs or?
Well, that's kind of in the internet years. This is what people have said. They've been sort of work, but I mean, you probably didn't have to be a great investigator to work out what he's probably using. They recorded in Chicago. They had valve amps. You got roughly the period. There was only a handful made. I mean, the Valco company comes from Chicago, and they made the amps and Mascos. There was only a few of them in Gibsons. I mean, when you go out to where was Gibson? Down Texas, was that Kalamazoo or somewhere? The Gibsons were a different area. you didn't have to be a genius to work out what he's probably playing through. And if you get a chance to play through one, you probably find it sounds exactly like Little Walter. You know, it's probably, but no two cuts of his recording sound the same. So he obviously used whatever was in that studio at that time. But no, I never did the research. I mean, there was always, I suppose, around the late 70s, there was a thing about microphones, the classic bullet microphone by Static. You know, I remember we all go around and oh, you need an egg mic. And I said, what was an egg mic? And those egg mics they play, you know, they look like an egg. And a few pals got them, ordered over, but I didn't get mine until the mid 80s when I went to play in New York. I went and bought my Manny's, the first one I ever had. But they were rare. There was no real internet, so you didn't really buy them. There was no sort of catalogues where saying I'm going to buy a static crystal microphone. It was a hard. There weren't that many around, you know, in England.
So what amp do you use then? Do you set up today?
Nowadays,
yeah,
or back then. But that, well, I went through the basement stage. I had a basement for many, many years. I sold that since. Now I have two amplifiers. I have my Fender 410 DeVille, which I use, which I preferred the sound of it to my basement, so I use that one.
Is it stock?
And in the last, absolutely stock. Yeah, no, I don't think mine was stock. And another amplifier I acquired in the last couple of years is by a Dutch company called Marble. And I've got a Marble 410 Harp Master, which is my go-to amp. I prefer the sound of that amp to any amp I've played for. I prefer that amp. So, you know, but I mean, before this nonsense started, I was a touring player, so I didn't do a lot of playing in of my own. I was always out in Scandinavia playing with Trick Bag, a band that I've played with for 11 years now. So picking up amps as I go along, just pick up usually Fenders on stage, whatever they had on offer at festivals.
Do you remember the first time we met each other?
Yes, very well, and I'm pretty sure it was Basingstoke Ice Rink, wasn't it?
Yeah, and what band was you with?
Well, that was with Jeff Shaw and all my pals, wasn't it? And I think I'm not sure if it was still called the Abdabs back then, or
Screaming Abdabs.
Was it Screaming Abdabs? Yeah. Because that was an odd one, because that was never my band. I was just the singer in that.
When I saw you with that band, I only mostly saw you doing the piano.
Yeah.
And singing. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
think you'd done a few tracks on the harmonica, vaguely remember, during the set.
Yeah.
But I think the majority of it was on keys.
Yeah, maybe it was. Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Because when I learned that you'd done the harmonica, I was like, is that the same guy? Because I remember him just doing like the whole gig with the piano. Now he's doing the whole gigs with the harmonica, man. So...
It was. I mean, piano was my job for a long time. I played professionally in a band called Rent Party, a local band, which was like a jump jive band. I must have done 5-6 years with them. They were a professional band. We worked.
Right.
But I wasn't a great piano player, Tommy. I was a bit of a bluffer.
Well, I remember Fats Domino sort of style.
Yeah, I get by, and only basically another piano player would know that I was rubbish. But the general public, you know, it's fine. It was fine.
I loved coming to see that band when you come through town.
Oh, we always loved it. I mean, we
I think
loved
I
it.
travelled up, didn't I, to the Station Tavern and watched up there when I was a teenager. I think because I made friends with your guitar player, and I was.
Yeah, I mean Jeff or Dexter Shaw, as he goes out as now, and yeah, I just remember you had a guitar signed by various people.
Yeah. And I was about 16, 17, I would have been.
Yeah, with Rex. I think you were younger than that, you know.
I was younger than that when I saw you at the ice rink.
Yeah.
But I think when I was driving, I come up and saw you all at Station Tavern up London way. But no, that was a good band. How did that come about? The Screaming Abdabs.
Well, it's a bit of an odd one though, because I was out on the scene. There was a whole load of us, and that actual band was fronted by Alison Moyet.
Right. Okay.
You know, and then she left, and they asked me to come and do the stuff, do the singing, And I think then my memory, I'm trying to think, I think we broke up, but then I think they got back together, and they had another guy singing, and then he didn't get on with him, and then asked me to come back and do the singing again. So I was never though you always assume the bloke at the front is his band. That was never my band, never ever my band. I was always the singer in that band. I've never really had my band. Still, I had the Blue Sonics. I was always like a band within 4 members. So the other one I had was Crawling King Snakes with some, I think, the same fellas that were in the Abdabs.
This was after the Abdabs.
Yeah, and then I think, and then I had one called Weston and the West Tones. So that might have been before. Do you know what? I'm trying to think which way around it was. I can't remember which way around it was. But it was it was just a period of playing piano and playing a little bit of harp. It was only until I would say 1995 that when I was playing the Station Tavern with the Sunday House Band occasionally, with Johnny Whitehall and the rest of them, and Mike Halls was a guitarist, and we really hit it off, harmonica and guitar wise. And he said we should form a band, and he said we should form a band and call it Weston's Blue Sonics. It was his idea, completely his idea. His idea was he liked is it Alexis Corner's Bluesology? He said that's a great name for a band. He says Weston's Blue Sonics. It's like a science. That was the idea behind the words Blue Sonics. It's an onyx. It's a science. So that was the idea behind the name of the band, and he named that band. And again, I was kind of part of it. But then he went to America, so I kind of took the reins of it, so to speak. So it became actually my band. Then I was taking from people and Guy, and I was captain of it, so I chose the songs and everything from there on.
What's the most up-to-date band?
I still got Blue Sonics. Still doing different lineups have changed as it's gone along. It's always various great people playing with me all through the years. For the last, it's got to be 11 years now, I guess. Might be even more. Paul Garner's been a guitarist with me. He's been my guitarist of choice, and I'm very honoured to have him. He's a very talented musician.
So where can people buy these CDs?
Well, I have one CD which is a solo CD, and it's made in Scandinavia. It's made in Finland, but that's with Tommy Lano, Lars Narsson, Riku Patola, and that's it. Riku Patola on drums. Yeah, just the 3 of them. So we made that one album. It's called West Street, and that's available through various distributors in Europe.
Okay, you don't sell them from yourself.
I tell them it's gigs, yeah, but I'm not doing it in the limit.
No. Just because the point of this is to get people out to people to buy CDs.
Yeah. I mean, it on one site it was the blues album of the year when it was released on an American site. One guy valued it as being the best one out of everything that was released. So I was very honoured to have that.
Yeah.
And it's 11 original songs that I've had knocking around for many years.
Well, maybe I can I'll put your email. I'll get your email off you at the end and put that on the link when we put the video up.
Yeah, or my on this MySpace now. That's what we do. Facebook. Best thing to contact me is on Facebook, because that's the thing that I check every day. Emails.
It's just I think it's always better to buy from the artist. So
Well, it is, yeah. I mean, if I can get out and go to the post office, I've been avoiding that, as I say, for various obvious reasons at the moment. But I'll have to buy myself a spacesuit so I can go out and be safe going to the post office and posting CDs off. Yeah, but contact me. You'll find Steve Weston. You'll find me on Facebook, and I never don't reply to anyone if it comes through. I know sometimes they come through on something strange and it's hidden, and I don't find it for a couple of years. But if I see it and read it, I'll answer you and get back to you.
So we'll go through some just questions that I write out. So, what does music mean to you?
God. It's been a major part of my life for as long as I can remember. It just makes me feel good. I mean, I say I can still put records on that I know to death, you know, and you just put it on. I mean, we don't play music much at home. Something we must sort out. I always tended to play music in the car when I was going to a gig. Was where I played music that I liked. I was at a family home. We never really did it much, which is funny because my wife's got pretty similar taste to me, you know. So she doesn't mind me putting my records on. She likes it. But it was her birthday the other day, or yesterday actually, and I was cooking. I said, I put my Billy Preston records on, which again I bought in Croydon in Beano's. I was into the Hammond organ, so I bought some Billy Preston records, put them on. I was straight back. I was 18 again. It was just great. Loved it. Felt fantastic. And these are the records that I used to put on, you know, when I come home from work. And I just thought, and it just made me feel great. You know, so it's nice if you can make your living doing something you love, especially as an artist. But it is a compromise because very few of us make a good living at it. I mean, I've never made a good living at it. Never. Yeah.
Do you still go back and do the welding sometimes?
No. Oh, only in the garden. If I want something welding in the house, I've got a small welding machine in the shed, and I pull it out and weld something up. And I love it. It's brilliant. I really do. Yeah, I really do. And I did enjoy it. Yeah, I made all the railings around the front of my house and things like that years ago. But no, I don't do it as a job. I never go back to it as a job.
What's your favourite song you've written?
My favourite song that I've written?
Yeah, you said you've got 11 original tracks. What's your favourite?
Yeah, I've got 11 original tracks. I mean, there's loads more that I've written that I haven't recorded. I can't say, Tommy. I wouldn't know.
There's not one you stick on or you gig and you think, yeah, this is one, you know, I love.
But the one that I'm known for more than anyone is a song called "You Wear the Ring," which many other artists all over the world have recorded themselves on their own albums.
The
That's the one I'm known for, but
Is that on this album?
oh yeah. And it's Trick Bag recorded it as well. Um, but many people have written to me from Brazil, Argentina, Australia, Canada, saying, "Do you mind if we do your song on our album?" So it's been covered. So it's the one that they've picked out of all of them. So maybe they like it. Maybe I don't know if it's my favourite. I don't think I'd be so. It sounds a bit arrogant to like your own music, doesn't it? It don't feel right to say, "Oh, my favourite song that I wrote is this," and I don't think I could say
it's just,
it.
I mean, you haven't got to tell people. It's like inside, like you got a favourite song that when it comes
I'm
up.
saying you're proud of. Something you're totally proud of. I don't know. I don't know. It's all inspired by something else, isn't it? When I write, it's always you've plagiarised somebody, then you've hidden it so much they don't know where you got it from. So, really my idea anyway.
If you could go back and give a younger you some advice, what would it be?
You've got to listen. You must listen to music. You must. I mean, that's the main thing. The thing, I don't know, I kind of a little bit off topic. It's a little bit of a thing that I had that kind of bugs me a little bit. There's in blues, blues has always been a music of feeling, and it's always been music. There's a lot about gear and technique. I'm sure it's the same with guitar. You have these guitarists that say, "If I only had the sound that he had, I'd be famous." Well, it's the music. It's not the sound. The music is the bottom line that makes something really good. And you should think about the music more than and in harmonica, technique becomes obsessive. With your tongue blocking, your lip pursing, you're playing upside down, you're gripping your mic a certain way. The way it sounds best to you is the best way. Then you see people saying, is it best to do this, or is it best, is one better than the other? Well, the best one is the one that you like the best. That's the best one. If you say, "Oh, he says the other one's better, so I'll better do the other one." Well, if you already like one, then stick with the one you love, and start worrying about the music. Start thinking music. You've got to listen to music to be able to play music, especially blues, because it's improvised, all improvised, isn't it? You've got to have things kicking around in your head. Unless you're a copycat player, which is all very good. It's got its place, I guess. But if you're a copycat player, you're exactly the same as any tribute band, aren't you?
So when you hit a solo, every solo's slightly different when you.
Well, yeah, you've got the nuts and bolts where you go on some songs, and you've got your safety licks, haven't you? But yeah, I mean, it should be conversational when you play a solo. It should be telling somebody something.
Well, yeah, and that you play off the band, and they play differently every night. So
exactly. I mean, and the band can sound so right when you're with the band that it's so easy to play, and you don't have to do very much, to say something. It's all drummers and things like that. It's so important when you play the music we play. But yeah, just think about the music as much as anything. It's the music. It's the song. It seems to have gone out the window. There seems to be admiration for people that can play something that's so hard to play. But being hard to play doesn't necessarily mean it's very good. It just means it's hard to play. Some of the greatest blues records are people like John Lee Hooker, and no one could say John Lee Hooker was a virtuoso on the guitar, but he's quite unique, and it's just fantastic. It's fantastic, So, oh yeah, but he's not like Hendrix, is he? So, well, Hendrix is a completely different thing, isn't it?
Well, there wouldn't be Hendrix if these guys weren't doing it.
But yeah, and it's completely different. I mean, you don't have to be a virtuoso to make great blues music. You just don't have to be. You don't have to be. You just have to have soul and love the music. And I think if someone come along, who had who kind of thought that way, you'd have a new blues star. because now all you're doing is you're getting blues players that sound like someone that's been before. And back in the day where blues was in the charts, if you sounded like someone else, you wouldn't even get a record deal. So we've already got a Sonny Boy Williamson. We've already got a Little Walter. Why do we want another one? They wouldn't want that. They want something new. And to think that those three chords are done to death and there's nothing new to be said, well, I don't believe it. I think there's still something else to be said there. It's been played for over 100 years, and there's so many. We all know it. You know, it's the standard 12-bar 3-chord blues that most of it is. I mean, there's variations, obviously, but to think it's all been done. No,
is there any 2 UK harmonica players you respect?
In UK, oh, there's loads in UK. I mean, there's Paul Lamb, and there's Pete, who you spoke on. There's my friend Laurie Garman. There's Julian Dimpario. I mean, there's some great players in England. I hate when people ask me that because I feel like I'm going to leave somebody out, and they say you didn't mention me. But you know that all my pals that I know, you know, I love all your playing, you know, and I love to hear them, you know.
Have you ever played at the Harmonica League?
I did a show for them.
In Bristol, I think it was.
Ago. In Bristol, yeah. I think I did a show. I mean, it was a long time ago. For them. It's and I did one. Oh, I did a harmonica thing last November. It was one of the last shows I did actually, was down in Brighton, Harping by the Sea. And that's through Hone. I don't know if it's anything to do with the Harmonica League though. It might be. I'm not sure. But I did that for them.
Yeah, because they should do a blues special maybe and get yourself, Paul Lamb all together. And
it's a funny. I often get asked to teach harmonica as well, and I find it kind of embarrassing because I don't know that much, Tommy, on it. I only know what I know, and I can show you what I know or how I do things, but it doesn't mean it's the way you would like to do it. But if you want to copy me, I can show you how I do it. It doesn't mean it's right, you know. I mean, I play completely different to, say, someone like Lazy Lester. Totally different. Lazy Lester makes fantastic records, and he sounds wonderful. And he plays completely different to Sonny Boy and to Little Walter. They all make great, wonderful records, but they don't sound like each other, and they use probably slightly different techniques all the time. You know, it's
What's your Desert Island disc?
My Desert Island disc. Oh, I've done. There'll be some Hammond on there. There's no question. For what, I've got one or
you can have two.
I can have two. Oh my god! Do you know what? It probably wouldn't even be harmonica. I'll probably have. I love Dinah Washington. Really love her. Practically anything by her. I wouldn't like to name a favourite one. And then had some really fantastic sort of northern soul Hammond groove thing. So by Mick Weaver or something, he did a great instrumental Green Door. They're just I love those. I love that northern soul. I like instrumental music a lot. I really like instrumental music. And I always dreamt of having a Hammond band, a Hammond trio, one day, but I think I might have left it too late now. But it's just that I love Hammond groove, as well as harmonica. It's equal. Might even be slightly. I like it more. I love Hammond. I love the sound of the Hammond. I love Jimmy Smith, Jimmy McGriff, all the greats, Billy Preston. I mean, I've probably got more Hammond records than any other record. Hammond groove stuff. Not anything too beboppy. I'm not too, anything a little bit complicated. I don't like. It has to be groovy, sort of R&B style.
What books are you reading?
Never read a book in my life.
No.
Never. It's not I can't read. I haven't got the attention span.
Okay.
I had a problem at school. I found English at school because I could say, "Got to read this book." I'd read a page, By the second page, my mind was thinking about something completely different. I don't know if it's dyslexia, I don't know what it is, but my mind would not focus on the words. I can read an article on something I'm really interested in and absorb it. I do that. But after a couple of pages, I usually skip to the end to find out how it ends. The bit I want to know. I just haven't, I don't know what is something wrong somewhere, but I can't focus my mind that much. I've got incredible patience because to learn to play a musical instrument without any tutoring, only using your ears, takes a lot of patience because what you're basically doing is you're doing it wrong to realise to do it right. So, when I learned to play the piano, I mean, it's a two-handed thing. I was touching notes that, hang on, that sounds a little bit like when I'm playing a record. I can hear this note here, and I can hear another note that's higher, and I go for the piano like that, so I can hear that. I can hear that note in it, and I find chords, and I play, a half-decent boogie-woogie piano just by trial and error, using my ears. And exactly the same with harmonica. It's only been using my ears. So I've got patience. And just reading the book, a couple of pages in, I'm done.
Do you have any other hobbies?
Any other hobbies? Let me think. Nah, I don't think so. I like collecting wristwatches, but that's something that I don't do so much anymore.
Okay.
Back in the day, you could buy them at reasonable prices, vintage wristwatches, and I love them. Now they've gone so expensive. It's not the likes of me. I've got a couple that are nice. This one on right now that's a Reverso, which is quite a distinguished watch. If you're into watches, but yeah, that's the other issue. I love vintage cars, classic cars. I also had those as a young man. Before it went through the roof, I had a few really nice cars, nice sports cars. Couldn't get anywhere near them now. Price.
Well, you still got them. You got rid of them, have you?
No, I wish I still had them. Yeah, no, I haven't got them at all. No, I had a great Simon Templar Volvo that they call them, which is P1800S in red. That was immaculate. I had a Weston Healy Frog Eye Sprite. I had MG Midget. I had a Morris Oxford from the 50s, Series 3. But it loads of minis. You can't get them for love the money now. But no, it's way out my price range now. But I go to classic motor racing events with my wife, or we did before this lockdown thing, and we were members of the historic Grand Prix Motor Racing Association, and we got to know the drivers and the cars, and all the cars sort of racing from the 30s onwards to the 80s. But that group that we belonged to was mainly 50s and 60s cars. Grand Prix, actually cars that actually had to race in Grand Prix, so they're really Formula Ones from back in the day.
So what's your plans once things start back up again? Maybe next year or?
Well, I'm just hoping that once it all gets free, I should get back and start working with my pals in Sweden again, because that's what I do. I work with Trick Bag, and I do some of my own shows out in Scandinavia and over Europe, and I work with my own band. In England. I mean, that's what I've done. There's nothing really big on the horizon. Nothing that I've had to cancel. I mean, shows have been cancelled, but nothing. I've got no plans, of course, I play with Mud Morganfield, don't I? Who's Muddy Water's son. So I've got some shows with him booked in. Hopefully, will come up. We've played with him for 11 years now as well, maybe 12. About 12 years, I think I played with him now. 2007 or 2008, I started playing with him. And we had a good year. We went to India. We played out in India this year, like last year in Mumbai. But of course, when that's going to kick off again, we need to be safe. You being American, it's mad. If you get himself out and want to let him back, It's a horrible situation for musicians.
So I'm going to ask you a few quick fire questions. Cash or card?
What?
Pick one. Quick fire question. Yeah, cash or card?
For what?
For anything.
What I like.
Yeah. Choose.
Oh,
Quick fire. Bam.
what cash or card?
Love or money?
Huh?
Love or money?
I don't card now, isn't it? I mean, it's all blooming touch and go or whatever they call it.
I should add that to my list, shouldn't I?
It's got to be. I mean, I don't think many people are going to want to be touching cash for a while, are they?
No, probably not.
Mind you, these new ones we got, you can wash them, can't you? Apparently.
Yeah.
These new notes, you can put them in the washing machine.
Or use your phone now, can't you? That's another new thing.
Well, yeah, having said that, that's been in Scandinavia for a long time. That phone, I can't even remember what they call it now. It's not Swipe, is it, or something? I can't remember what it's called. But they've had that. They've had technology out there that for years that we're slowly getting. People pay with their phones all the time out there. Transfer money, get a CD and transfer the money to them on their phone.
Blimey.
I don't even, just pick up the CD and they do it really simply. We're a bit behind the times, I'll tell you. Well, I am.
Love or money?
Love or money? Definitely love, of course.
Morning or night?
Night.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Roots or rock?
Roots.
Electric or acoustic? Electric.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Steve.
And you, Tommy. Keep safe, mate. Bye.
Cheers, Steve. Bye. Hey, it's Tommy Allen from TommyAllenMusic.com, and that was Steve Weston, the amazing harmonica player from right here in the UK. You can find out more about him on his Facebook page, Steve Weston, so go check that out. Next week, we have the amazing Emma Johnson right here on Tommy Allen Music, 7 o'clock every Wednesday. Come and check us out. We talk, interview, music stuff right here. Please give us a like, hit the subscribe button. Until next week, a word from our director.
Goodbye.